recording this session so that I can share it with all of you and you can have it for your future reference. So,
Okay.
anyone wants to go first?
So let's start with you.
Sure. Most happy to start with me. My name is Nirzari and I'm been into HR for like around 16, 17 years so far. Past a year, I've been into a consulting role, picked up a lot of assignments with the GCC centers, with individual companies, and I've basically did a lot of workshops and a lot of assignments for them in terms of end-to-end compensation benchmarking, career path progression, and something around, designing of their profile centers. So this is what I've been doing past 1 year. And in terms of my HR career, I've been associated with established companies, with bot model companies, with GCC centers, where I've headed HR in a leadership role for about 12 years until now, and been into IC role and been into a specialist role so far. In terms of my compensation expertise that I have been managing compensation right from philosophy until external benchmarking for my own, for the established companies where I've worked for, and of course for my clients so far that I've worked with them. I'm based out of Pune and been giving up all these workshops past 1 year now. So I would be conducting my 9th workshop so far, and I have trained around 90 plus odd HR professionals with experience around 12 to 18 years so far. So that's a little about me. Over to you. Who wants to go first?
Okay, thanks, Nirzari. My name is Prashant, and I have started my career in 2014. It's not a long journey so far. And I have started into administration from Genpact. I'm based out in Delhi NCR, and from past 1.5 year, the current organization where I'm working with, it's an e-learning company. And here I got an opportunity to turn into the HR part. Take care of the HR part also. So the reason to join this seminar to understand how we can take care about the salary benchmarking part. I'm really excited to hear about your insights.
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure. Please. Can we do a quick roundtable, please? Because I want to keep this time boxed.
Hi,
Hey, hi.
please go ahead.
Hi, myself Devdatta, carrying about 15 plus years of experience of business HR. Right now, heading the HR department for one of the leading dentistry organization. The kind of experience that I'm carrying is from various industries, but at the same time, I have worked on salary benchmarking. Would like to hear and learn few more aspects about salary benchmarking, and hence attending this lecture.
Okay, fair enough.
Good evening, everyone. This is Vandana, and I have around 9 years of experience in different industries and around 3 years of experience in HR. I'm working as an HRBP in one of an IT company. It's a product-based company, and I would love to know more about compensation benchmarking. So that's the reason why I'm here today. Thank you so much.
Sure, thanks. Guys, a little quick, please.
Hi, my name is Rashmi. I would like to go next. So am I audible?
Sure, very much.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I have about 5 years of experience. I'm working with an IT startup. Initially, my job role was more into finance, and I was managing that. And along with that, I was asked to handle HR as well. And it's been 5 years since I'm just, stumbling around in HR and not much experience, even education wise. So I want to move from finance to HR because I find this very exciting. So I want to learn a lot about HR in all aspects. So this course is one thing where I want to learn a lot more about compensation and salary benchmarking. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Who's next?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, yes. So Jitendra here. I was just checking because I'm traveling and I'm in a car. So I was not sure whether my voice would reach. So I'm Jitendra. I have been working in the banking sector for quite some time now, around more than 10 years actually. So I've been with Axis Bank as an HR business partner, employee experience specialist, and currently I am with Shinhan Bank. This is a bank which is foreign bank based out of Seoul in South Korea. Uh, in terms of my role, I've been into business partnering, a little bit of compensation, learning and development, employee engagement, a lot of variety of things in HR. And in order to strengthen my knowledge about Comp and Ben, I'm a part of this program and looking forward to learn more. Thank you.
Sure, problem. Another 2 minutes. Who wants to go next? And then we start off. Okay, no worries. Okay, so let's start off then. Okay, majority of you, what I understand, okay, from the kind of description or from the kind of profile that you shared, okay, that you're handling, most of you are into a business partnering or into a generalist role. So while a little bit of context that, why did I pick it up and from where did this entire thing, came up into rolling? While I was working on a very typical assignment in setting up a research company along with my friend, is where, of course, I started working on the entire benchmarking with him, along with him. And that's where a few of the friends, of course, in the industry got to understand that, I'm working on this with this company. And that's how I took a little bit of sessions with them to understand, okay, what's the challenge that they're facing and all of it. So while I was doing it, one thing common that I understood from typically from the HR fraternity, mostly into business partnering, generalist, or head of HR kind of roles, where the CNB is an isolated version for them. So they're like more in their own concentrated area. And when it comes to anything related to monetary aspect, of course, the views are taken, but what about those entire things are not discussed. So what you get as a business partner or as a part of your generalist is always a kind of the end result with the numbers. But where are those numbers coming from? I mean, they're like magical numbers. I don't think so, because there's someone at the back end working on getting the right data in terms of numbers for you, so that you can understand, read that data, and then translate into your day-to-day working, right? So that's what I understood as a challenge. And that's where, when I was taking a little bit of pro bono sessions initially for a few of the groups into HR, I did pro bono for HR Shapers, where I am the moderator also of that group. And that's where it all started off. So while I was doing a pro bono, few of the people wanted to learn, come and take a detailed course, and it started from there, the entire journey. So most of a majority of my participants that came across, or that have picked up this detailed workshop, are either business partners, generalists, or have been into touched base on mostly all the areas of HR, but not CNP. Either they were not exposed to, or they were scared of, or it was a myth that the business partner or the generalist role cannot step up to that. So that's where, when I started picking up this workshop, it was more about, okay, if you understand as an HR business partner, when you are aligned to your business, and when you understand basic fundamentals of how numbers are coming up or thrown at you, you could do a very tactical benchmarking sheet for yourself. All that you have to understand is certain basic logical step. Where are the data points coming from, and then how do you present it and how do you put it forward? So of course, for every step that you take in terms of benchmarking, there are activities that you need to do behind the scene. And that's where when you do an activity, you get a certain data point onto your sheet, and that's how you go on preparing it. So with this workshop, or people who have attended my workshop, they basically start from just a mere list of job titles. That's all. You have a just mere list of job titles scattered, okay? It can be a mix of dev, a QA role, or say management role, all of it. So you have a list of scattered job titles, and from there, how do you present it in terms of a concrete org structure, a right org structure? How do you get into doing a job evaluation with job detailings, the first job role remuneration, and from there, how do you start bringing up on your compensation benchmarking elements, put it together, make it look like an internal benchmarking, and from there you go external, and how do you pick the data points from there? So this is what I have picked up as a part of the workshop overall, as a part of a detailed workshop. Okay. This session is being recorded, so I'm gonna put all of you on mute. Okay, if you have your questions, you can write on the chat box, and I will open this window towards the end of this session, so that when I share the recording with you, it is undisturbed recording coming to you. Okay. Just give me a moment. I'm getting the presentation up and a little bit of changes on the slide deck. Okay. I hope my screen is visible now to all of you. Just a little bit of yes on the chat window would help me. Okay. Thank you so much. So what am I going to cover here today? Okay. I am going to cover up, why are we doing a kind of benchmarking? What is the need? So where does the need come from? A little bit of a user journey. What steps will you take to compile your entire data, and then how will your data look like at the end when you put up all those data? So basically, for me to cover in this 1 hour, of course it's not going to be a detailed one. It's more about for you to understand, if you are doing your steps as a first entry level, if this is your first assignment that comes to you, where do you start from? Okay, how do you start gathering your data points, and from there, how do you come up to making the entire sheet? So this is what I would be covering up in this 1 hour. Okay. Okay, so what am I showing here? I am saying that, okay, as a part of my need assessment, when you start preparing your benchmarking sheet, okay, you wouldn't just go haywire and talk about, okay, why are you doing it? So basically, where is your need assessment coming from? Either you want to do a kind of internal parity within your own job roles that you have, job titles that you have, okay, or either you want to go for a new hire. So new hire could be more of a premium skill kind of a thing, or any kind of new project that would be coming up. Or you would want to understand that what is a competitive pay practice to the kind of technologies that you have currently based within your organization. So your need assessments are basically a very restricted box. It cannot go beyond anything else apart from if you have to do something which is internal, or when something new in terms of your skills or technologies are coming up, or in case if you want to understand where do you stand today at the moment. So if as a company, when I talk of a compensation philosophy, as a company, if you have a compensation philosophy and you are targeting a company, say at a 50th percentile, where do you stand today on all the job roles that you have today, from a median or from a 50th percentile point of view, or say from a 60th percentile point of view, whatever that you decide as an org strategy, vis-a-vis when you go out, or how do you bring up that data. So from that point of view, when you start doing your need assessment, these would be basic criteria that you would get to start to work on. Now, when you have your need assessments done, okay, where do you start gathering your first data point? You start gathering your first data point from your org structure. Now, before you start doing your org structure, what I mean by org structure, I'm not talking about purely from people demographic point of view. I'm talking from a title point of view or a role point of view. So when I talk of an org chart here, I am talking about the unique job roles that you have in your organization. Okay, and based on that organization, how you come up with your org structure. So when you are preparing your first unique job roles that you have as a part of your organization chart, okay, you then start to work on your job evaluation process. So when I say a job evaluation process, it's basically an activity. So during your job evaluation process, it's basically manual. So you understand what kind of role is expected, okay, out of the role that you want to hire. So you get in touch with your hiring manager, understand what they're looking for, and then from there is what you start doing a detailing of your job role. So when I'm talking, say, of a job role which is a developer, okay, I am getting all those details for a developer, which talks about a role definition, it talks about a role prerequisite, requisite, it talks about the compensable factors, it talks about the kind of job role remuneration that I have. So once I'm done with a job role remuneration is where I start going into details about what kind of cost to hire will the job role look like. So when I talk of a job or a cost to hire role, okay, I am talking about going out and saying that, okay, for a market data of the role that I want to hire, say, which is a developer, 2 to 4 years, how will the market data span like? Vis-a-vis, if I have to talk of internal and say that, okay, how is my finance data going to look like? Okay, so I make these two comparisons in front of me and I bring up my entire job detailings exercise as a part of a job evaluation. So when I put in a job evaluation as an overall package, I would also do my job classification, I would do my ranking, I would do my point and point factor method. So these are basically my evaluation techniques I would do for one role, and then I would come up, and then my end result would be a job description. So what you see today, or when you go out in the market and you want to hire someone, what you normally get from a TA team is a job description and a salary range. Now behind putting all those data as an end result for you, what is the activity that you do? So you do the entire job detailing and job evaluation exercise, and then you bring that entire thing on your job description, and then you go for your hire. Now, when you're doing this, you of course have your first employee data also. So while you have your unique roles in front of you, you are also talking of getting the first employee data set for you, which talks about what kind of family does the person belong to, what kind of subfamily does the person belong to, what is the kind of category the person is into, what is the kind of grade the person has, are there any levels for that particular job role. So at this stage, when you're done with your unique job roles, your job detailing exercise, which talks about a cost of a role, okay, and from there, when you start putting up your data onto your employee sheet, you would see that, okay, against a person's employee ID and a name, you have the entire journey of that person. Where does it belong to? If you have to look from an org chart point of view, okay, along with the role cost. So that particular role, what is the cost today which a company can bear? So when I say a company can bear, I'm talking about a cost to hire. I'm not talking about a CTC here. I'm talking about a cost to hire which has a different, which has many other parameters apart from the remuneration or the CTC that you have. So it could be your city compensatory allowances, it could be your premium skill bonuses, it can be your buffer premium skill percentage that you want to put in. So overall, if you look at a cost of a role, which a finance guy would have accounted for would be much higher than the salary range what you get from a hiring manager. And that's where when you go out and ask for your exception approvals, at times it becomes easy for them to say a yes, and we are happy about getting an exception there. Now there's always a math behind it when you come to a costing of a role, because while I am doing a costing of a job role, okay, I am putting all the necessary compensable factors, and I'm talking about what kind of payouts that I will have to incur for this person. So that constitutes my uh, cost of the role, and that's the ultimate cost that I cannot go beyond it for a certain role to hire. From there, once I've done that, so now when I've collected my basic data, I have a clear understanding of an employee ID and a person's name against which the entire description, which talks about his family, sub-family, department, uh, grade, map, uh, grade, category, level, and mapping of his job title to a job role is what I see coming up in front of me as a part of the second step. Now, when I have to bucketize, okay, all these data that I have, I would be bucketizing in a way which talks about that, okay, what kind of grade do I have in my companies? If I have to do a grading and a mapping exercise, I would do it in terms of my grades being on my x-axis and my categories, which can be my categories like executive, management, support, expert, those kind of categories, where I pick up all these job titles, place them and say, okay, if my category is a support category, what do I mean by support category? Of course, a definition of that category and what titles I want to include. So is what I do as a part of my category and mapping exercise. While I do my mapping, I'm also mapping my first job roles that I have as a part of my org structure to the titles that I have now. So it could happen that as a part of your org structure, you have a clear indicator which says that, okay, you have only 10 job roles in your company. Now, against the 10 job roles that you have in your company, it could happen that you have multiple titles. So that's where your mapping and grading exercise would play a role and say, okay, against a job role that you have, these are the titles that would fit in. So that's how you bring up your grade mapping exercise. So if any one of you is exposed to a Mercer or a Watson or a Aon Havit kind of grading mapping exercise, that's the same exercise I'm talking about. Okay, where you have your category and your grades, and then you have your entire first job roles getting mapped to those grades and the category. Now, once I'm done with it, now I'm getting into the internal pay data. Okay. At this point of time, when I'm done with my evaluation, I've got all my data points, and that's where I've got my entire level, grade, and entire thing, and entire mapping done. I have now a sheet which has a base salary. So with base salary, I work forward on putting my other components. So my other components on the internal benchmarking side would be what? It would be my job role remuneration. It would be my median pay. So it can be an org-wide median and it can be a job role median, both of them. I have my percentiles. I have my first comp ratios. And lastly, I will have a salary grid. So these data points come in as a part of an exercise. You do it in the backend, and these data points come in as a final activity or a result coming out of that activity that you have done on your sheet. So when I'm talking of getting all these components on the internal sheet is where I'm putting certain data points, certain numbers against a job role remuneration and a base salary that I have got, which would be my further deviations that I want to bring up while I am comparing it to these numbers. Now, once I'm done with my internal and I get to a level where I understand that, okay, my CNB data point, which is coming out of my grid model, which is a tactical approach of building your salary grid, you make that out, and then that's where you bring those data points, align it on your internal sheet, and you bring up that as a model. Okay. while you're bringing it, what you see on your sheet is against a particular person. Now you have a certain merit increment percentage which is coming out of a grid. It is not coming out of a whim and a fancy of a particular employee or a manager who's going to rate that person. So when I am talking of bringing these data points here, I am talking of bringing a kind of a maturity from this model and say that, okay, for a person who's a 3 rater and a comp ratio between 61 to 80 should get a merit increment of 8%. It's not because I am saying it, it's because the way grid is formalized. So this also talks about my grid being into a box model. It cannot move forward or backward. It is basically a constrained model, which I have considered as a part of my merit increment. Okay, so this is where I pick up my data points, show up my deviation. Okay, what is my deviation looking like when I compare a CNB data compared to a job role remuneration or a job role median data, and that's where I bring up the first level of deviation. Now, when I'm going external, okay, I am going external and pulling out my medians from outside. So I would, as an external exercise, what is it that I will need now? Until now, my internal data was all fine because I have my base salaries, I have my medians defined, percentiles, comp ratios, and grid. That's all done for me at the moment. Now, when I have to go external, I will have to do a point-to-point comparison. So like when you go on these sites, which are say your pay scale or your Glassdoor or your LinkedIn or your job portals or any free reports that you get, the data points or the data that you see are in different shape and sizes. While my internal data today is very much into a shape which is of a median. So I want to get my data points in a place where, you know, it is a median job role for me, and that's where I go on comparing it with outside. So while I get my data from outside, I would use certain CNB matrices. One of the matrices would be picking up a market reference data. Now, these are few techniques that you can build up on the uneven data that you have coming from outside. And then how do you make it look like a unilateral or a uniform data? And that's what, and that's where you can compare it from an external data set. So while I go on these sites, you know, get all my data points from there, I am also going to look at, you know, a different roles that I have in my company, job role in my country, find out what is the kind of job role definition that they have, compare it at least to an 85% of the job role definition that I see outside on these sites, and then bring up that data point onto my sheet. So if I have 5 different data points coming from 5 different places, I am going to use a market reference data as an approach and bring up one uniform data, which will help me to understand a difference coming from a 50th percentile internal and a 50th percentile external. How do I look like? So I can bring up that data uniformity from outside, similar to what a vendor would do it for you. So if you're going for for a vendor who's into benchmarking, would also do exactly a similar kind of an exercise for you, okay, and bring up one data point for you, show you as, you know, what are your deviations from outside and how do you read that data. So that's what I do as a part of external pay data. Now, once I have my external and internal pay data talking to each other from a median point of view, I am now going to do a kind of a deviation, which means that I am going to I'm going to see that, okay, for every job role or for every job title, how are my deviations based? Are they high? Are they low? So these kind of data points which I'm getting from external and where I'm doing a deviation are more of a catalyst for me. They are not a stepping or they are not, you know, a carved stone for me that, you know, I need to follow that particular point. For me, it's a catalyst in terms of saying that, okay, for a certain role you are low today, and for a certain role you are very high today. How do you want to go? As a company, as a compensation philosophy, if you have decided to be at a 60th percentile, where do you stand when you go and look out for a data outside? Is what we see normally when we are bringing up the deviations when you have your internal external pay data. And once you have all of those data, what you see coming to you in terms of your deviations and how are you reassessing your needs is you understand what is a kind of grid model numbers which are throwing up to you. So now say as a merit increment number, okay, as a company, I understand that, okay, past trend for past 3 years have been a merit increment at say 10.5%. Now 10.5% is my merit increment. It's not a salary budget. So now what I do is I understand from my AOP, and now this is at a very executive level that I'm talking. At an executive level, when your AOPs are built at the start of your financial year, there is always a salary budget that you get. So when you talk of a salary budget, I'm saying that for a CTC today, for a role that I have is 100 rupees, I am going to give you a salary budget of 20 rupees more. So my role cost becomes 120 for the next financial year. That doesn't mean that I am going to spend this 20 rupees on a merit increment. There are factors that I've divided where I'm going to use my salary budget. So when I'm talking of a salary budget, I'm talking purely from a compensation point of view and not benefits. Okay. So when I do a salary budgeting, which makes me look or take a look at my cost today from say 100 rupees to say 120 rupees. 20 rupees is then divided into different factors, which I know that over a period of time I may have to come across, or these are my contingent expenses. Okay, so when I look at this particular number in front of me, I say that okay, I want to park my merit increment at 10%. Okay, and remaining 10 rupees that I have, I want to split that money into different factors. Now it could happen that I get my salary budget for say 20 rupees, merit increment is 10 rupees, and while I'm doing my merit increment exercise, I get to understand that I need to take care of market correction, I need to take care of promotion, I need to take care of gender pay differential, and I need to take care of role realignment, or any additional expense that I understand which could come. So it could be also from a zone position, a red zone or a green zone circling. So those factors actually become an additional factor for me to take care if I have to pay it up. Now it's not going to come from anywhere else. It's going to come from the same salary budget that I have. So what I do is a merit increment stays at 10%. A 5% is spent onto these factors, these 4 factors, and remaining 5% is backed as a part of any new hire or anything which needs an immediate attention. So it could be a new technology, it could be a new project, it could be an overall a new business that you see coming in from a hot skill point of view. So that's how your salary budget gets divided. Okay, so while I'm working on my grid model, I will take care of, finally I will only take care of a merit increment. So other factors are not considered here. Okay, and when you are done with putting all your data points, here is what you see, a kind of one sheet in front of you which talks about going internal. How will your internal benchmarking look like, and how do you map the same job roles when you go external? And finally, what is the kind of deviation that you see from a salary budget that you have got vis-a-vis a merit increment budget? So this is where you complete your sheet in terms of arriving with all of these exercises, with all of these activities, and your sheet would then talk in terms of the overall data point. Okay, now if I have to look at a user journey, where do I start from? So these are my 12 basic steps that I will have to perform to bring up my entire structure in front of you. Okay, so I just cannot jump onto looking at the employee database that you have today. No, it's not going to be right, because you'll have to map your right org structure, get into a detailing of how the job family alignment with line of business looks like, because that's where your cost centers are done. Or that's where, a person gets tagged to a cost center, and that's where your remuneration also gets tagged. Once you're done with aligning of your job families with your line of businesses, you carry out an evaluation process. So again, evaluation process is nothing but a job detailing exercise which you do it, or which you rather perform when you understand that, okay, what is the salary budget that you have, what is the cost to hire budget that you have, and how, and what is the salary range that you want to give to the hiring team in terms of the job role that you have. So you bring up all these together, and that's where you bring up your job description. Now when you go as an end result, your job description will have all of these items that you see here, okay, as a part of the entire description, which would start from your line of business, your department, your title, level, stream, role, and grade. So what you see as an end result on job description is where you're bringing up all those activities that you have done in your first step. From there, then you start plotting your median salary. So you get into a job role median, you get into a title median, and then you get into your first comp ratio. So while you're doing your first comp ratio, you also understand at what percentile you want to stay, and you want to understand that, okay, this is how your overall structure would look like. Now from there you walk into and say that, okay, what is my salary grid going to look like? So this is again a very separate exercise that you do as a part of a entire tactical way of building up numbers for you. It's a grid model, and it's basically a relationship between a kind of ratings that you have in your company vis-a-vis what kind of comp ratios are coming up from the first. So basically it's a relationship between your performance indicators and the first comp ratios that you come as a, that you get as a part of a deviation. Now from there you get into seeing how your median points look like from a deviation point of view, okay, with your internal and external marketing benchmarking. You derive deviations, you understand how is your market budgeting is looking like versus a finance budget for every job role. You take a kind of deviation from there and understand that, okay, if I have to spend money on the factors which are not purely a part of merit increment, which can be other factors in terms of your promotion, in terms of your zone correction, in terms of your hot skill, all of it is where you come up and you understand, okay, this is where you'll have to find out some kind of deviation against the job role that you have. And from there is where you could make a proper or make a constructive offer construct, which would show that, okay, for a role that you want to hire. So now this can go as a proposal for your overall benchmarked roles, or if you want to prepare and say that, okay, for one job role, okay, if you have to give an offer construct, how will you work on it, keeping all of these parameters in mind? So with these parameters here, okay, until the 11th step that you see, you have all the relevant data right from the family line of business to your grading mapping exercise, to your medians, which are internal, external, to your grid, which is coming from the CNB expert, and lastly, the finance and the market data that you have already. So your offer construct will have everything that's needed in terms of a pay parity. If you have to go and propose it for a retention case, or for a role realignment case, or for any kind of new hirings that you would want to pick it up. Now, once you're done with all of these is where you're coming and you're talking about a salary parity sheet. So now your salary parity sheet at the end of 12th step would have all the required data points in terms of numbers, in terms of certain percentages which are thrown up to you in terms of while you're doing all of these. So You do this activity, bring it onto that sheet as a result, and that's where you see your sheet getting filled up with the kind of relevant data for you. Okay, so this is where your user journey of a benchmarking sheet would get completed. Now, what are the kind of exercises that you will need to do? So as a part of the overall, this entire structure, okay, there are 12 to 14 exercises that you do to complete this entire benchmarking. Okay, so now when you're doing or as a part of first step, you take care of how are you building your org structure. From there, how are you building onto your job evaluation? So basically, these are your activities that you do. You bring up the data point onto your sheet, and that's where you see that, okay, against an employee name, now you have your family, sub-family, function, role, grade, department, category, mapping, and title. Okay, so that's where you complete your first step. Second step, where you complete, you will understand that, okay, against a particular title, how is your job definition or how is your job role remuneration shaping up, is where you bring up the second step. Third step would be putting all the data points, required data points in terms of your median, your percentile, your comp ratios, your salary grade and all of it. And then how do you map it with your internal data that you have versus you go external on these free pay sites, do a kind of market mapping, and then you bring up the medians that you are looking at to compare, is what you do as a part of your third step. Now, with the third step also, what I teach you is how will you translate a report that you have, which is a free report that you have, to your data that you've already made. So like not every company would go ahead and take a Mercer or an Aon Hewitt report, because of course of the cost factor and of course different reasons as well. So if you have to do this entire thing all by yourself, how do you translate the report, the free report that you get, and put all those data points onto your sheet, and okay, make it look justified when you're presenting it? Because when you present it to the management team, okay, they are going to check, of course, what is the kind of referencing you have done, or what are the kind of competency matrix you have used to ensure that the data is a point-to-point comparison. So when you do that is where you bring up your external benchmarking data there. And last step is how do you prepare your first comparison ratios. Okay, how do you take care of mapping a salary grid with your PMS evaluators, and then how do you correlate the grid with your comp ratios, and you bring up the deviations, which will then help you to understand, okay, for a merit increment number that is proposed to you, how is the numbers or the merit increments going up, down in terms of entire evaluation. So these are few activities, basically 12 to 14 activities. You finish, you do it, and that's how you will come up and talk about it. Okay. Now this is how I will see my data points coming up. So from the org structure, I get into evaluation mode. From there, I get into my family category level mode, all of it. From there, I start onto my benchmarking, which could be internal, external, and that's how I will come up with a kind of a grid. So this is what I was talking about, a tactical approach of these numbers coming to. So once I have all of these is where I'm talking about bringing up these activities to life and talking about bringing or building up the benchmarking sheet. Now this is a little about the workshop in that I conduct. So it's about 20 hours of workshop. It's split in about 8 sessions, and it's purely 8 to 10 hours of purely concept sessions, and remaining are assignment sessions. So for every concept that you learn, you also have an assignment to do. So while you finish this, you would understand from yourself that right from a raw list of job titles that you have built the entire pay parity sheet for you, covering what kind of internal benchmarking scenarios and how do you make an offer construct. So I'll have to prepare this entire thing and propose it to my management. How will it look like? So yeah, this is where I complete my session, I would stop the share and I would leave it open for the question answer. So I can do a mute all. Okay, so now if you guys can unmute yourself, and if you have any questions, we can of course talk about it.
So what would be the course fee for this?
Okay, so course fees for this would be 10,000. Now it's a split. So if you want to do a split in terms of 50% on enrollment and 50% remaining while you complete the course, or the second option is 8,500, and it can be paid in one go.
And how about post course completion support?
So post completion support, as I said, as I'd mentioned, there's 4 hours that I give you one-on-one. Okay, so if you are building a same kind of exercise with your company, of course, I will help you out. Okay, in how your steps are being done and created, and all of it is where I help you out. So all the sessions are done on Zoom, plus whatever worksheets that I build or that I show, or all the presentations that I have are of course shared with you on Google Drive. The recordings of the sessions are also shared with you. So it means that if I'm giving an assignment, there will be already concept which I have taught, and based on it you will have your assignments and all of it to complete.
Okay, what specific tools would be using, like my Microsoft Excel, or for
Yes,
deviation and all these things?
Yes, it would be pure Excel. So I've built all my concept sessions worksheets basically in Excel, so that if I am picking up, or if I'm showing you an example of job detailing, I'm gonna pick up those data points in front of you and say, okay, this is how you do it, or this is how you start relating it.
Okay, right, that's it. Sure. We'll get back to you, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for this session.
Sure, no problem. Any other questions?
Not from my side. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. Bye, take care.
Nothing from my end also. Thank you so much for this clarity. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nazari. When is the program scheduled?
So it's starting from 30th. So I'm running a batch on 25th, which is a weekday batch for 6 days, and a weekend batch is coming on a week in the week of 25th October.
In the week of
25th October.
Yeah, ma'am, one clarification, because if it's a weekday batch, then every day we'll have to do assignments, and we need to complete that. So it will not be tedious, or what?
No, it won't be tedious, because the sessions are done in a way where you have Monday and Tuesday as your concept sessions. Okay. And Wednesday is a break, and Thursday, Friday you have your concept sessions. So once you're done with your concept sessions is where a week after, in a week of the 11th November or 7th November, 7th and 8th November is where you have your assignment sessions.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, so 25th October is actually Monday. So are we saying 23rd, 24th, which is a Saturday, Sunday?
Yes. So basically the first concept session would start from 24th October.
24th.
23rd,
okay.
Yeah, because 23rd would be more of pre-assessment, understanding, like what is it that I'm going to go through and all of it. So it's more
Right.
production with all the employees, all the participants, my bad. And that's how we go about. So 24th, yes. And weekdays, basically it starts from 25th. So 25th, 26th is a weekday. And 28th, 29th is what you finish your concept sessions here. 4 concept sessions, followed by a 7th 6th and the 7th November will be the assignment sessions.
6th and the 7th will be the assignment completion.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because my constraint is that I'll not be there from 29 to 2nd. So then that's not coming in between the sessions, right?
29th would be coming if you pick up
Okay.
a weekday. Because
Okay.
weekdays are like 7 to 9. 7:30 to 9:30 or 7 to 9, depending on how that's for everyone to pick it up.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, it'll help if you could share or email the schedule, so I'll just figure out.
Sure, no problem. We'll do.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I would be interested in enrolling, but I'm quite busy now. So is there any batch in the month of November 20th like that? Because there's a cousin's wedding and my sister's wedding also. So I'm quite
Okay.
busy with that. So after 20th November, is there any weekday batch? Even weekday batch also would be fine with me. So can you please keep me updated on that?
Sure, I can, no problem. Otherwise, my November batch is gonna start from 6th November. But of course, if you have a
Only
wedding
after 20th.
That's
After 20th, I'll be free. So let me know. It's okay, even a weekday batch. Okay. Please keep me
Sure.
updated. Yeah. Thank you
Sure.
so much. Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Okay. No other questions? Should we end the session here, guys?
I was asking on the timing which you're planning to do.
So weekdays are going to be from 7:30 to 9:30, most likely, because that's where I've started getting the response from the working professionals. And weekend would be most likely in the morning, 10 to 1 or 2 to 4. So basically, the timings depend on the entire batch.
Weekend would be Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yes, weekend would be Saturday, Sunday, pure.
Okay, because I work on a different time zone. So when you say 7:30, it's still 4 o'clock for me, which means I'm working.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. I'm still in your group in WhatsApp, so I'll just follow up there and see and decide on what needs to be done.
Sure, no problem.
Weekends again, it's a weekday for me. The weekend here in India, so
Okay.
that's my Monday. Your Sunday is my Monday, so that's going to be more busy.
Sure.
So
So are you based out of UAE?
I'm in Qatar actually.
Okay, because I had few
Mhm.
people joining me from UAE, from Dubai. That's where they had the same constraint, and then I picked up a different batch for them altogether.
So do you have some batch coming up like that?
So it depends. I mean, if I have 4 or 5 people together from the same location, I can do a different batch, because I did one batch for Asia Pacific Singapore guys, and one was for Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai would be fine because we just 1 hour different, so
Yes.
I can still manage. Yeah.
So if you have your friends, or if you want to join in with someone, at least 2 or 3 people with you, I don't mind doing it, together for you guys as a batch.
Let me see. I'm connected with you in WhatsApp, so I'll try to pick a chat sometime, and then we'll see.
Sure, no problem. No
Thanks.
stress.
Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Great. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Thank you so much for joining and hearing me out. And I'm closing the session. I will share the Google Drive link for this session, and you can, of course, download and hear it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.